Ship Wanderer shuddered as Mark's vague pulled back on the thrusts, trying to navigate through the dense packed field of stellar debris. Warning lights flashed across his console, casting his sweat streak fade and alternating red in it. You piece of junk, he muttered, fingers dangling across the control panel. Just hold together a little. The system had failed 3 hours ago, leaving him stranded in what his outdated star charts identified as neutral, though the increasing number of sleek patrol vessels suggested otherwise. Each time his sensors picked up another ship, Mark's changed course, diving deeper into the asteroid field that stretched between him and the net. Making the run from Earth colonies to the trading outposts had Proxima for 6 years now. Good money, minimal questions asked about the occasional peg that didn't appear on the meta, but he'd never strayed this far off. The alert blared, and Mark scurried, yanking the controls hard to port. The Wanderer groaned in protest as a meteoroid as of a shuttle grazed the hull. The impact sent him sprawling from his seat, his head connecting with the deck, playing with it. Vision cleared, he found himself staring at an unfamiliar seeing, smooth, pearlescent material that seemed to pulse with internal life. Mark sat up, wincing at the throb in his temple. He wasn't on the Wanderer. When away came a melodic voice from across the room. Spun around, instinctively reaching for the blaster that should have been holstered at his hip. A circular viewport was the most striking alien he'd ever seen. Humanoid in bake form, she and something in her sense suggested feminine to Mark, stood nearly 7 feet tall. Her skin shimmered with iridescent skeleton shades of azure and violet, while 4 slender arms emerged from a torso wrapped in what appeared to be. Marks demanded, his voice raspy. What happened to me? So was derailed by the impact, she replied, moving toward him with liquid grace. I brought you aboard mine before patrol could intercept you. You're well. Snarled his eyes, and why would you do that? I enjoy collecting strays, she had the edge of her mouth lipless but expressed, curving upward. Or perhaps I need someone whose presence in Zalarian's fate cannot be. Marks felt his blood run cold. The rumors about the Zalarians had reached even Earth's distant colonies, a high-advanced, high-territorial species with a penchant for viewing other races as either subjects or threats. I'm in Zalarian. Then it, she confirmed, I'm Talia, daughter of Supreme Commander Drake. Swore under his breath. Of all the alien spacecraft he could have been rescued by, he'd landed on the equivalent of her. He's an impeccable human, Talia continued, activating a holographic display with a gesture from one of her lower arms. My father's forces will be looking for me. They track this Veil Signer, but not yours, that makes it. Marks could refund. The ship lurched violently. Talia hissed what sounded like a curse in her name. On us already, she said, moving to the control console. Can you pilot a Zalarian Valley? Marks, he corrected, getting to his feet. And I can fly anything with thrusters and a... Hers multifaceted like a dragon, swirling with colors that seemed to reflect her. Marks, she challenged, staying eyed to give him access to the control. Because if you can't outrun my father's elite guard, we'll both discover firsthand why the Zalarian punishment for treachery is legendary throughout the... Brief moment, he saw something in those alien eyes that transcended speech, vulnerability, terminating, and a fierce intelligence that both intrigued and slid into the pilot's seat. Let's find out what this ship can do. Vel, which Talia called the Lumiar, proved more responsive than any ship Marks had ever piloted. Its neural interface adapted to his human neurology, translating his intentions in fluid motion through the asteroid belt. Behind them, 3 Zalarian military crews gave their weapons periodically illuminating the void with searing. To reach the belt's shadow, Talia instructed, her forearms working simultaneously across different control panels. The radiation there disrupts Zalarian track. Guide the ship into a narrow gap between 2 massive asteroids. Your father's ship seemed pretty determined for this to be a simple family deal. Gills darkened, erection Marks was beginning to recognize it. My heart coincided with my discovery of certain plans. My father intends to launch an expand campaign against 3 neighboring systems, beginning with a surprise assault on the North. Break the Galactic Accord, Marks said, executing a tight spiral to avoid it. Believes the Accord is a chain binding Zalarians to media. Her upper right hand brushed a pendant at her throat, which Marks now knows contained a day of crystal. I covered his war council's communications. He would destroy millions to defend it. The alarm wailed. One of the crews had predicted their trajectory and cut them off. Marks veered sharply, but not before a glaring blow from an energy weapon sent the Lumias. As Fang, Talia announced, her voice remarkably steady. If we're captured to destroy the pendant, the information must not return to me. Met her gaze, seeing not an alien prince, but a fell fugitive with everything to lose. We're not getting to manual controls and killed the navigating system. In complete darkness, relying solely on instinct, he guided the ship toward a cluster of You, Talia began, but Marks cut her. The pilot knows the best hiding spot is one no one else will reach. He activated a short thruster burst, nestling the Lumiar into a crater on one of the asteroids, then powered down all systems except left. Insolence, the asteroids raging, keeping them hidden from the Pang crews. Our stretched by, marked only by the soft glow of Talia's bioluminescent scales in the dark. Like the humans described in our eyes, she finally said, studying him with unblinking eyes. Those reports characterize your speed as technologically primitive and... Slav quietly, maybe you need to update your... So I will, she replied, a hint of warmth in her voice. Once... The sensors remained silent, suggesting they'd escaped it. When Talia's breathing slowed, indicating rest, Marks found himself watching the rhythmic pattern of light moving beneath her scales, beautiful in and out. As they carefully navigated to a remote outpost inhabited species neutral to the Zalarian hierarchy, Talia explained more about her father's reign. Drax had risen to power through a combination of military prowess and political eliminations as his honor duels. His position as Supreme Commander gave him control of not only the military, but effectively the... Your mother, Marks asked as they prepared to dock at the... Good for treating when I was new hat, Talia replied matter-of-factly. She advocated for diplomatic saloons over mill. Hand instinctively moved to cover hers, the gesture too human perhaps, but Talia didn't pull. Sorry, he said. She responded, her sails shifting to a deeper blue. Her death taught me to hide my true thoughts from my father. That deafness kept me alive long enough to... Marked at the outpost, a lost trading hub carved into a dead moon, Marks realized with unsettling clarity that somewhere between being captured and becoming a fugitive, his priorities had shifted. The cargo run, his ship even getting back to her. All of it seemed less important than helping Talia expose her. He was lying in a dingy establishment that catered to various... The single room held only one sleep platform, but neither mentioned it as they settled in. Did you really help me, Sip? Talia asked as they landed. Stared at the ceiling, considering. Maybe I'm tired of just delivering cargo and ignoring what happens in the galaxy, or... He turned to face her. Maybe I just couldn't leave you. Dim light, he saw her scales shimmer with a new pattern, one he hadn't seen before. She moved closer, her alien fears somehow. Zerimpulsive, she whispered, but perhaps that is not always. His kiss was tentative, a bridge across worlds neither had a man cry. Her touch cool against his skin sent shivers through him that had nothing to do with it. Came 3 days later, encrypted and embedded in mark plate background notes. Only Talia's specialized receiver could detect it, coordinates and an authenticating code from something called Resistance, she explained as they prepared to leave their temporary sanctuary. A network of operatives from dozens of species working against expansionist regimes like... You know you, Marks asked, checking the mod-eyed blaster he'd acquired through one of the outposts less reputable. Oh, me, Talia clear-eyed. I've been feeding them information for years through code channels. This is the first direct. It's led them to an asteroid mining facility in a system technically outside Zalarian jurisdiction, but heavily influenced by Drax's government. Marks piloted their newly acquired transport, a battered hauler with false registration, while Talia maintained vigilance. He appeared abandoned upon their all, but after transmitting the authentication code, a hidden hangar door revealed itself in the asteroids. It had a diverse group, 2 Norians with their characteristic crystalline skeletons, a burly Terran woman with cybernetic enhancements, and a Vosgelder whose gelatinous form pulsed with bioluminescence remnant of... Daughter of Drax, the Vosgelder gurgled through a Translayan dice. We've awaited that meeting for some... Human asked one of the Narayans come out as fixed on. The woman stepped forward. Captain Vay's involvement was part of them. Froze, how do you know, Marine? It's all grimly, because we orchestrated your navigation failure. We've been watching you for months, Captain. Your record in the Terran colonial force before turning to independent shipping suggests someone with both the skills and moral flexibility. Turned to Marks, her scales darkening with what he now recognized as surprise. You didn't mention Miller. Terry, Marks corrected, anger rising, and I don't appreciate being min. Here you are, the Voskelder nodded, with exactly the companion we hoped you'd find in. So, but as the Resistance briefed them on Drax's imminent act plans, Marks understood the stakes transcended his personal feelings. The Zalarian force had already begun positioning near the Narayan border colonies under the guise of military. Following weeks, Marks and Tay integrated into the Resistance operation. He trained pilots in evasive maneuvers effective against Zalarian pursuit craft, while she provided detailed intelligence on her father's commands. Chipped even in stolen moments between minutes. Tay's understanding of human physiology proved alongside her grasp of human emotion. For Marks, the alienness of her form became secondary to the resonance of their shared purpose and growth. Their pair bonding is strategic, Tay explained one night as they lay in wind, her scales glowing softly against his skin. Partners are selected for genetic compatibility and political. What would they make of us? Marks asked, tracing the luminescent patterns along her. Glimpsability and a political distance, she replied, mandibles clicking, and what he'd learned was laughter, which makes this all the more. Landed when intelligence arrived about a high-security Zalarian prison transport carrying key political distance. The Resistance planned an intercept operation, with Marks designated as lead pilot for the. For the mission, Talia found him in the hair making final checks on the strike. Concerned, she observed reading his mouth. It doesn't feel right, Marks admitted. The transport's route, the limit escorted. Upper hands grasped his shoulders while her lower ones continued adjusting his flights. My father is arrogant, but not careless. Your instincts, American. Her warnings to the Resistant leadership proceeded with the mission. Talia wasn't permitted to participate. Her values and intelligence had deemed too great. The embrace lingered. Return to me, Marks Vea, she whispered, pressing a scale-like tone into his palm. This is my life shard. Among my people, it's only given to once. Closed his fingers around the toe and its surf swarm against his skin. I'll be back, he promised. And then we'll finish what we started, exposing your father and finding our play in it. Didn't have known it was a promise he would struggle desperately. Was it? The moment Marks' strike team detailed the prison transport's engines, a Zalarian battlecruiser emerged from hiding behind a nearby moon. Within minutes, 2 of the 3 resistance valves were destroyed. Marks' ship, crippled by cannon fire, was boarded by Zalarian soldiers in gleams. In a detention cell, the sterile white lying down to disorient prisoners by eliminating any sense of it. His flight suit had been replaced with a simple gray jumpsuit bearing a prisoner identity. Third day, or what he estimated was the third day, the interrogation began, not with torture as he'd expected, but with a. Commander Drax himself entered the cell, towering figure whose scales shimmered with deep crimson and blood. Unlike Tay's four-armed elegance, Drax bore 6 limbs, the lowest pair evolved into powerful stabilizing appendages that made him peer rooted to the ground, immovable like it. Marks Vea, Drax began voice resonating at a frequency that made Marks steal. Former Terran colonial force, decorated during the Centauri conflict, now a smuggler, a rebel, and most curiously Medados. Kept his fried noodle despite that. How could Drax know about his relationship with? For it is understandable, Drax continued, circling the cell. Did you truly believe Taya's action was genuine, that the heir to the Zalarian Supremacy would abandon her birthright for? Did a hologram showing Taya in her quarters on what appeared to be Drax's command bell. She was reviewing tactical displays and communicating with Zalarian. Her has been our most effective intelligence operative for years, Drax stated. Her rebellion was crafted to infiltrate resistance cells across 3 sectors. You, human, were simply her latest unlock. Felt a coldness spreading through his chest. You're that. Drax's mandibles clicked in amusement. How convenient that she found you in that asteroid field. How fortunate that she possessed exactly the information the resistance needed. How predictable that you developed feelings for her. Struck like a physical blow, Marks had suspected manipulation from the resistance, but not from Taya, not after the end. Just tomorrow, Drax said casually. I've granted her request to oversee your execution personally, fitting into her most. Started, Mark slumped against the wall, Taya's life shard still hidden in a small pocket he'd torn in the detention cell. He retrieved it, studying its iridescent surface. If Drax spoke the truth, why would Taya have given him something so significant in Zalarian? Came unexpectedly that night. As he dozed fitfully, the cell door slid open. A Zalarian guard entered, weapon raised, but instead of firing, the guard removed their helmet, revealing familiar. Mark's breath instinctively banged away. Approximately 3 minutes before security realized I've looped the surveillance feed, she said, probing him. You need to die now, Future. Father told me everything, Marks rolled. About your mission, about the execute. Heard his version of the truth, Taya countered, removing a security band from her wrist and etching it. What he doesn't know is that for the past 6 years, I've been gathering evidence of his war crimes not for the Resistance, but for the Galactic Council, the only authority within a part. Her forehead to his an intimate gesture among her. I've been a double agent, Marks, playing both sides, yes, but not as my father believes. The day of Crystal where it contains everything needed to prosecute him under it. Just wanted desperately to believe her. Why not tell me from the. Your reactions needed to be genuine, she rolled. My father has televac advisors who can sense deception. Your honest emotions protected. Alarm began to sound. Talia pressed something into his hand to swallow. Counteract the tracking isotope they put in your bloodstream, she explained. There's an automated cargo pod in Launch Bay 3 pre-programmed to rendezvous with a resistance valve. I'll meet you at the coordinates stored in your security. This is another trap, Marks asked, even as he pressed the injector against her. Girls rippled with emotion. Then I've orchestrated my own destruction as well as yours. She touched the life shard he still held. That wasn't part of any plan, Marks. What's between us? That's the one truth in all these layers of it. It was brief but fierce, promise and probably a farewell. Then Taylor replaced her helmet and shoved him roughly toward the door, resuming the role of guard escorting him. But I echoed Marks into the vastness of space moments before the Zalarian Vale security force locked down all launch bays. For 17 agonying hours, he drifted in the cramped Canair, sustained only by minimal life support and the uncertainty of taste. Finally docked with the resistant ship giants, Marks emerged to find not only the rebel leaders waiting, but Taylor, having arrived hours earlier through a mortar. Elders Gelatin's form undulated with what passed for Addain among his kind. You claim Drax is aware of our operations, yet you expect us to trust you with an even more. Due to recognize an unprecedented opportunity, Taylor countered, activating a holographic display of a map space. In 3 days, my father hosts the Quadrennial Security Summit. Every military commander in the Zalarian hierarchy will be present, along with representatives from client states. Target for what? Asked the Terran woman coming in. Not a Saiyan, Marks interacted, standing by Taylor. The Saiyan has a central communications array capable of broadcasting to every system within 50 light years, if we can upload the evidence from Taylor's data. Turn Drax's own propaganda network against him, Taylor finished. But the central array is accessible only from the command level, which requires biometric identification from a member of the ring. It took shape over the next 48 hours was it. Taylor would return to her father, ostensibly bearing intelligence about resistant movements. Marks and a small training team would board the Saiyan deck as maintenance conductors from one of the Zalarian clients. Using Taylor's security credentials, they would access the command level during the summit. For the minute, Marks found Taylor on the observation deck, her sails reflecting this. Your father specs anything, he began. Kill me without hesitation, she finished. The continuation of power matters more to him than blood. Took her hand, all 4 of them in his. Then let's make sure he doesn't. Mission must be perked, Talia agreed, which requires one final truth between us. She hesitated, then continued, if we see the Galactic Council will establish a provisional government on Zalea, they've requested. So understood the implication, a human consort would conflict. Yes, she admitted, but governance is not the same as love. I would wait for you, Marx Vega, if you would wait. They sealed a pact beyond words, transcending the boundaries of their different species and the political reality. Satan loomed before them like a Max fighter, its central hub surrounded by 8 decking arms. Marx's team infiltrated via Splayvale, while Talia arrived separately on her father's command. Proceeded according to plan until they reached the command level. Marx, disguised as a communications technician, was inserting Talia's data crystal into the broadcast array when the security barrier suddenly activated. Voice out through the chamber. Did you truly believe I wouldn't recognize my own daughter's encryption signature? That I wouldn't examine the data crystal so carefully? Panel slid open, revealing Drax with Talia restrained between 2 guards, her sails dull with it. Between strategy and tactics, daughter, Drax continued, is that strategy and hit parallel. He gestured to a view screen showing Zalarian warships surrounding the sand. Your resistance friends are being Hand moved subtly toward his concealed weapon, but Drax. You're devoted to her, human, misplaced though it is. The Zalarian commander approached, towering over Marx. I reviewed the data myself, most impressive evidence of my tactical decisions, military directives, even private communications, operating actions that your Galactic Council might. You know you've lost, Marx said. That data is Brug's signal. Laughed at chilling on, is it check your crystal here? Glanced at the array terminal. Instead of the decryption sequence they planned, it displayed an Aurizane request. The crystal had been. Verse Drax explained. The moment that crystal connected to our systems, it transmitted the lay-in of every resistance outpost in 3 seconds. The war I've been playing, it begins today with Errol. Suddenly wrenched free from one guard, her low right hand extracting something from her ceremonial armor. No feather. A small die in her palm, and immediately every screen in the command center began displaying documents, recordings, and tactical orders. The evidence had come to. As triggered, my fellow, Talia explained, her voice stayed despite the guard restraining her again. When the crystal was compromised, it activated a secondary transmit. Seized the moment of confusion to draw his weapon, freeing Talia as alarms blared throughout this. And just broadcasting to the summit, she told her father's representatives from various systems began appearing on communicating screens, witnessing Drax's exposed plan. It's transmitting directly to the Galactic. Horde in fury lunging toward them, but Marx caught him in the shoulder. Despite the injury, the Zalarian commander kept coming, centuries of evolutionary combat reflexes dragging him. Then wasn't Marx's weapon or Talia's strategy, but the intervention of the Zalarian second commander, who entered with security force low. Commander Drax, he announced formally, the High Council has received evidence of violations against the Galactic Horde. I'm obligated to relieve you of command pending it. Descended into controlled chaos as Drax was deigned, and summit attendee processed the revelation. Amidst the confusion, Marx and Talia slipped away to a small observation deck overlooking it. Father's second commander, Marx beat. Waiting for this opportunity for days, Talia finished. Power transitions are rarely bloodless on Zalea, but this one. Marx asked, getting out at the stars, where do we fit in this new galaxy you've helped? Gull shimmered with the pattern he now recognized his joy. The Galactic Council has requested neutral representatives to oversee the transitional government. She took his hand. They specifically suggested including the human who helped. Dervea, he tested the title with a small smile. I've never been much for them. If Talia admitted, but we've both proven it. Her sail shifted to the deep blue that Marx had come to associate with her most intimate moments, and some bonds transcend political. She rotated slowly against the backdrop of space. Marx pulled her close, no longer seeing an alien but the partner who had changed his fate and perhaps the course of Galactic. Billy then, he murmured against her sails, and unexpected. Silhouette, human and Zalarian, stood framed against the viewport as distant stars beckoned with possibilities neither could have imagined when their paths first crossed. Read clock and make mix. Please double.